Welcome back to Switch to Linux and another outdoor philosophy. So today I'm in Holmes Foster Park, which is a very interesting park. Like, what's weird about this place is the amount of bugs, because there's no water anywhere. It is woods, obviously, but the other places I go which have, or woods have no bugs. This place is crazy though. But anyway, we are continuing on in the book First Things First, and we are on the passion of vision today. And vision is one of those things that we really need to talk about over the course of our life and what we want to accomplish. Because, there's even a proverb in the Bible. It says, where there is no vision. Now, some of them say, where there is no vision, the people perish. And some word faith people have run with that going, but the translation I like, and because it's a more transliteral Greek, says, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. And that comes back full circle to the word disciple, which comes from the root of discipline. Basically means to teach, to understand. And if you do not have a vision for your life, you will not restrain yourselves to the constraint of the plan and the vision. You'll just go out and do whatever you want to do, because when it comes down to it at the end of the day, if you don't have any driving principle to do something important, you will do whatever feels good. And whatever feels good usually is not the thing that brings you the long-term results. However, one thing that does feel good is doing those long-term goals and those long-term plans. And so this chapter is talking about vision. And we actually start out with probably one of the best people with vision is Viktor Frankl. If you've not read his book, Man's Search for Meaning, I think it's called Man's Search for Meaning. Now, Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychiatrist who was collected up by the Nazis and was actually one of the few survivors of Auschwitz. And he examined what is it that causes some people to live and some people to die in a place like a death camp. And what he boiled it all down to, because he was a psychiatrist before he went into camp. And so he took it upon his studying to examine the human condition and said what ended up being that final key principle was that a person who had a future vision, a vision of a better day, a vision of a better time, are those people who are going to do better than those who just see life as hopeless. When life is hopeless and life is meaningless, it's easy to give up. And when you have a vision, it's harder to give up because you're always looking ahead to that better vision that's down the road. And that is the basic premise of his book, Man's Search for Meaning. And I'd encourage everybody to read that. I'll try and remember to put a link down below there for it. But it is a fabulous read. It's an autobiographical story about his time in the Auschwitz death camp. But it is just a fabulous story about how the vision and purpose and passion can drive you along. And that is that key principle that really helps you move on. So they also look at research from the Vietnam prisoner war camps. The same thing was observed there. Those that had a future vision, they visualized the time back with their families. They visualized their time back at home, back in America with freedom. Then those people were always better off than the people who just were focused on their circumstances and their situation, because that wasn't a good place to be. So, of course, those are fairly extreme examples. Most of us are not going to end up being prisoners of war or in a death camp. But who knows what the state of the current country, But regardless, we're not going to find ourselves, most of us at least are not going to find ourselves in that extreme thing. But bring this full circle with these quadrants, and if all your focus is those quadrant 4 not important, not urgent things, you come home from work, you throw the keys on the table, you turn on the TV, and before you realize that it's bedtime, when that's all the vision and all the purpose and all the passion that you have, well, you do not have this externally imposed prison case like a prisoner of war camp or a Nazi death camp. What you do end up having is an internalized prison in the same way. You lack the vision, you lack the future focus. You go out to work, you do your thing, you come home, you do your thing, and then it becomes this boring monotonous of life. And when life becomes that boring monotony, that is when the challenges set in, and when you get to that point where you're just like, there's no more meaning in life, and that's when chronic illness starts to set in. That's when we just start to lose our focus of what's important in life. And that really is, though, that core principle. So the thing that we really need to do is maintain a vision, whether we're in a death camp or whether we're just living a day-to-day boring, monotonous life. you will get a bad situation if you do not have that future focus and that future vision. That's why this chapter is called The Passion of Vision. So they say here, vision transforms and transcends. Basically, if you are living a life with your vision, then it can move beyond your circumstances and move beyond your situations. You can fight a day better if you know that the future has in store for you better things than those that are not. And so you have that general trend going for you. All right. Now, the next principle they're talking about here, let's just see. I guess the next thing that they want to do is they want to go back and look at some creative imagination. So think back over your life. If you did not have any constraints of time or any constraints of money, what is the thing that you would like to do? Now, if you didn't have any constraints on time or money and the thing you'd like to do most is sit down and watch television, I'm sorry, that's a sad life. However, for those people that want to come out and think about that and go, yeah, I'd really like to do this or I'd like to do that. That is the foundation. It's the spark of the vision, the spark of the passion that I can put up with the crappy job I had in college because I knew a better day was coming. And it kind of actually caused one day a really that interesting breaking point, because I was a baker on a cook's line and it sucked. The restaurant industry sucks, you know. I mean, unless you're the store owner or something, or maybe even the manager might have a little better day. But man, if you're one of the grunts on the front line, the restaurant industry sucks. You're dealing with crazy people. You're dealing with all sorts of weird circumstances. You're dealing with constant stress, rush, pressure. And I remember this one day, it's just nothing was going right. And I just go back in a storage closet just to blow off some steam. And I was pissed. I was mad, you know. And the manager's like, you know, why don't you like your... It's like, dude, why don't I like this job? Because this job sucks. And I told him that. I said, this job is not my career. This job is not my focus. This job is the thing that I come to. I put in my hours, I collect my paycheck so I can pay for my education, and that will lead me to the better situation in life, okay? I had this future vision. I could put up with the crap in the restaurant industry because I had this future vision in my life. And that is that thing that you need to get to this point where you're looking ahead to the future. You're really wanting to look ahead and say, what is it that I want to accomplish in life? And then you use that as the spark, as the foundation to set out to say, what should I accomplish in life? So they talk about getting in touch with your inner life. How do you spark those things? So they talk about being self-aware first. You know, being aware of who you are, being aware of your environment. All of those things are very important as we examine who we are. And then we talk about our conscience. So our conscience is basically this discovery point. What is it that drives us? What is it that wants to cause us to move in one direction and not to move in another direction? That is that whole concept of conscience. And then creative imagination. And the creative imagination is that part. This is where you can really stop and ask yourself that question. What would I do if I had $1 million? What would I do if I had $1 billion? What would I do if I had no constraints on my life and all I could do is just do whatever the things is that I'm passionate about? That will allow you to question that very spark. And when you understand that spark of your life, then what you can do is you can build a framework around that. You can put up with your current circumstances, and then it frees you up. That when you have a passion and a vision, you have no desire to come home after you worked a long hour at work. You have no desire to come and just watch television. You'll come back from your hours, your boring, monotonous job, and then you'll be like excited and fired up to do the things that you're most passionate about. And that's that point that you need to get to. And then, of course, we talk about the independent will. This is kind of where the rubber meets the road, where the independent will is. That going back, we talked about this in the last book. We talked about you don't have to do anything. You choose to do things. Now, granted, you can choose to do nothing, in which case you will, but the result of your choice is you might lose your house, you might lose your job, you might lose your family. But you have to realize that when you take those constraints of what I have to do, in fact, I think it was early this year or late last year, Lewis Rossman had a really awesome video on this topic. And it was on procrastination, like how to overcome procrastination. And it was a fabulous video. If I remember again, I'll go ahead and link it. But take a look at that video. It's really good. But this is where that independent will comes in. Once you've identified that spark, that thing that gives you the passion, that thing that gives you the vision, you have that spark in your life. Now you have to go in and look at that independent will thing. So are you going to choose now to do the things that are part of your passion, or are you going to choose the things that are going to be, that are going to help you, basically monotonously through the day? And this is kind of where addiction tends to hijack the concept of the independent will. It kind of forces you to do things that you know are wrong, you don't want to do, but your feelings and the overwhelming urge to do it empowers over you. This is where that thing is. But the independent will is the thing to stop and say, I'm not going to turn on the TV when I come home today. I'm instead going to read a book on this subject. I'm going to research this subject. I'm going to examine this subject. I'm going to decide what is it that's part of my goals and what is it that's part of my vision and what is the next thing I need to do, the next right thing to do that thing that I need to do. And what they talk about here is the concept of the personal mission statement. And the personal mission statement is kind of the clarifying goal of your life. Now, if you probably, some people have already done this in the past, and some people will look at this and go, oh, well, it's just another to-do thing. Check that guy right off my list because, that's just what it is. The reality of this, though, is that you want to make sure that you're not doing this to check it off the list. You're doing this as a tool and as a resource. So you take your mission statement and then you put it with your weekly planner. And we talked about, you start out your week by reviewing your plan. Maybe like Sunday evening, you review your plan of your week. You outline a rough schedule of things you want to do. And one of the things you need to do is look through that mission statement to determine, are the things that you're doing in alignment with your goals and with your mission? And so you have that general movement, that general trend towards that goal. And so they really talk a lot about that. But it really is using that mission statement as a means to carry you on into the goals that you want to do. And so if you find yourself looking down, you find yourself that you're doing a whole lot of things that are not in alignment with the things you like to do and the person you like to be. This is where it comes back to Chip Ingram talks about, I don't want a to-do list, I want a to-be list. Your mission statement really should be more like a to-be list. I want to be great at this particular thing. And then you ask, are the individual steps that I'm doing, do these help me become that person that will do that? So that is kind of my thoughts there. So thanks for watching, everybody, on this outdoor philosophy. Again, our book is First Things First by Stephen Covey with Roger Merrill and Rebecca Merrill. There will be a link to this down in the description below. If you like what we're doing here at Switch to Linux, you can support us. Check out our page, switchtolinux.com/support, to learn all the ways that you can currently help support Switch to Linux. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day.